In order for us to study Natsume Soseki's Meiji world, we must cross-culturally examine case studies in Western culture. We will first begin with the tragedy of Anneliese Michel. Her story is an example of the fission between what it means for society to be modern and the severing of space for multiple perceptions of reality within that society. Anneliese Michel was a devout German Roman Catholic, raised in one of the most isolated parts of Bavaria. At a very young age, she began to subjugate herself to pain for the sins of others. By the age of 16, she suffered from convulsions and soon found herself being visited by demonic figures. By the age of 23, she had died of malnutrition, secondary mental illness. After her death, the consequential court case will reveal the European blind faith to its religion of science. In the words of Thomas J. Tordas, neither the experts nor the court granted the least validity to the explanation in religious terms. The cultural and phenomenological reality of possession and exorcism was explicitly ruled out. Later in the trial, experts tried to give their justifications against the backfiring of their methods, defending their use of proven science on this unusual case of psychosis. Anneliese Michel's symptoms, argues Felicitas D. Goodman, are incredibly parallel to the hypersensitive nervous systems found in shamans and spirit mediums that appear cross-culturally. Likewise, Anneliese's isolated region of Germany and her hardcore religious upbringing molded her brain to fit into the reality of her devout beliefs. This leads us to conclude that because Anneliese's nervous system reacted against the medication and the models of the high German psychiatric clinics, and her symptoms and patterns parallel that of mystics in spiritually isolated regions of the world, that Anneliese Michel should have been healed accordingly to her realities. In contrast with Germany's problem exemplified in Anneliese Michel's case, Japanese psychiatry consummated a different approach to the treatment of mentally disturbed patients. Dr. Shoma Mirota founded a highly prominent therapy practice that is influenced by Zen Buddhism and other characteristics unique to Japan. The therapy was originally designed to treat a range of neurosis found among Japanese, most often characterized by asociality, hypochondria, feelings of inadequacy, and a strong conscious desire to return to normalcy. Essentially, this uniquely Japanese form of psychotherapy was formatted around the flexible influences of traditional Japanese medicine, philosophy, and the emergence of different social requirements brought in by the Meiji Restoration, which in turn gave the flexible treatment that patients deserved. The success of Mirota's reliance on a flexible therapy rather than an empirical model that is found in Europe and North America proves, on a macro scale, that dogmatic models based off of inflexibility is inappropriate for the vast complexities of the human mind. In the case for Japan's adoption of all things Western, we can see Sanshiro trying to grapple with realities that never before existed in Kumamoto. We must keep in mind that Sanshiro is an adaptation of Soseki's sensitive identity as a youth. Soseki recalled the senses of Tokyo and how violent it seemed. He wasn't being allegorical. There is the possibility that he was being quite literal in his meaning. In fact, throughout the novel, we observe symptoms in Sanshiro that would suggest neurasthenia, a condition that results in insomnia, timidity, and other stress-induced traumas. Comparable to Japan's traditional society that Sanshiro was raised in, his relationship with Japan's modern world is anything but stable. This one-size-fits-all aspect of Western mentality is a risk that is never examined before accepting the tempting fruits of modernity. The pressures infiltrating the human brain within the confines of urban society are the pressures of rapid change in environments, swift fluctuations in thought processes, and the organization of different perceptions to address rapidly changing situations. These factors of urban experience subjugate our mind to considerable stress, which in turn give way to tremendous physiological consequences. People who live in modern societies, and more specifically the urban settings, become acclimated to the tremendous stimulation being constantly processed. When Sanshiro yearns to be part of the bourgeois, self-described third world, he rejects his previous reality, plasticizes his mind into a new reality, and thus suffers from feelings of inadequacy when its imagination does not match with the perverted sense of self.